Hey smart people, here are 10 ways to learn anything faster and retain more. I'm about to give you the straight story on how to learn quick. The first 4 of these tactics are psychological. They will enable you to get your head on straight about learning. The next 6 are practical techniques. These are physical things to do that will enable you to grasp, absorb, and retain the information easier and longer. By the way, be sure to stay tuned till the end, because after the list of 10, I've got a special bonus tip for you that will supercharge your results. Of course, if you like what we're doing here on this channel, be sure to subscribe with notifications enabled so you never miss any of my new content. Here are the 10 best things you can do to be smarter faster. Because there's a lot of information jam-packed into this video, I've put the time codes in the description below the video to make it easy to review any individual topic. First, and easily the most important thing on this list is this: have a big, clearly defined why. You must have a very strong reason why in order to overcome whatever obstacles life throws in your path so that you can achieve your ultimate success. I have often taught when your why is big enough, how will make itself known. Simply put, if you aren't committed to a strong enough reason, you won't have the staying power to do what needs to be done when things start to become a little difficult. However, when you're able to clearly focus on your reason, your desired outcome, your why, then you'll have the fortitude to see it through. Have a positive attitude about learning. One of the biggest mistakes I hear people make is they tell themselves, and everyone else, negative things about their ability to learn. They say things to themselves like, "Oh, I have a terrible memory for people's names," or "Gee, I'm just not good at math," or whatever subject. "This subject is just too hard for me. This is stupid. Why do I have to learn this stuff?" And the list goes on. While you might not feel enthusiastic about this type of positive thinking type stuff, I'm sure you'll admit that there is no benefit in using negative self-talk and having a bad attitude. You can't accomplish anything good if you feel like you're beat before you start. While you can't just turn around and say things like, "I'm brilliant," or "I have a perfect memory," and make it believable, you can say things like, "I can do this. This is important to me. I will work at it until I get it." Get used to telling yourself the outcome you actually want instead of reinforcing whatever weaknesses you may think you have. I recommend that you review my video entitled 6 Steps to Becoming Great to learn the realities of learning anything new. Pay attention. In the description below this video, I offer a free report. In it, I give you 3 things that you can do immediately to triple your memory power without mnemonics, association, or memory tricks. The first of those 3 things is that you must get it. If you don't get it, you can't keep it. For example, if you're being introduced to someone and they mumble their name, there's no way to remember it. You must get the name if you want to keep the name in your memory. The bottom line is that you must pay attention to make sure you get the new information in the first place. Get interested. I know people who can recite all the names and detailed statistics of many of the top players in their favorite sport, but then can't remember people's names at a party or their wedding anniversary. Did your mom or maybe a teacher ever wag their finger at you while saying something like, "You can only remember what you want to remember"? Well, guess what? They were right. You can only remember what you want to remember. That's why it's so easy to recall information about sports figures or major celebrity gossip, but hard to recall the facts and details having to do with your classwork. I often hear people say things like, "It's boring." Well, the truth is that it is not boring. You are bored. And being bored is a decision that you made. So make a new decision. Find a way to be interested. You've got to give yourself a reason to care about what you're expected to learn. Once again, we come back to having a great big clearly defined why. When you know why you need to learn something, it makes doing the work that much more palatable. You care about the end result, and that will keep you more motivated to do what needs to be done. Make mental images. Your mind thinks in pictures. One of the most effective memory techniques is to visualize the information you want to recall as some sort of image and then connect it to that information. You'll see a number of ways you can do that in some of my other videos. You'll see perfect examples of using this imaging technique in my videos, Speed Learn SAT Vocabulary, and also Foreign Language Vocabulary Tricks. In addition to vocabulary, you can use mental images to help you easily recall people's names, numerical information such as times, dates, and formulas, historical facts, geography, scientific and medical terminology, and much more. Just to give you one limited set of examples, let's say you wanted to be better at remembering people's names. I teach 4 different ways to make an image from someone's name. Then you connect that image to the person you're meeting. Let's use my name, for example, Matt. There are a number of images one could use for Matt. A welcome mat. I'm always a welcome mat. A wrestling mat. In high school, I was indeed a wrestling mat at the 123-pound weight class. A friend of mine used to call me Matador. When I was single, I'd say, yes, Matt adores the girls and the girls adore Matt. I also cover extensive ways to use this powerful recall technique in my video-based training course, How to Have an Incredible Memory. You'll see the link for it under this video. Search for patterns and clues. If you are actively looking for them, you'll often see patterns in both numerical information as well as in new vocabulary words. For example, if someone has the postal zip code of 33777, you'll see 2 3s and 3 7s. If the postal code were 66420, you'll notice they're all even numbers in descending order. When learning new vocabulary, whether it's difficult words in your primary language, a foreign language, medical, technical, scientific terminology, you may notice similarities to words you already know, or words within words, or a unique grouping of letters. For example, sometimes foreign language words are very similar to their counterparts in English. Pronouncing or spelling the word can also give you solid clues. The word apple in German is Apfel. Instead of 2 P's in a row, there's an F. The word better in German is besser. The double T is replaced by double S. The word dolphin in German is Delphin. That's an easy one. When spelling new or difficult words, pay extra attention to patterns. In my videos about spelling made fun and easy, I give a sizable number of examples. Words that end in ANT versus ENT are frequently misspelled. Look at the words combatant and penitent. You'll see a combat ant and a penny tent. The more you look for patterns, the more you'll notice. Use multiple senses. In part 7 of my 9-part series on instant concentration, I talk about the concept of multisensory perception. That is, the more senses you use when attempting to learn something new, the more of an impact it will have on your brain. Therefore, you'll be able to retain it longer. For example, instead of simply reading something, you may also take handwritten notes on it. Then you're using both the senses of sight and touch. If you also recite the information you wish to remember out loud, then you're adding the sense of hearing. The more senses you use, the stronger the neural pathways for retaining and recalling that information will be. Simply put, when you input information with multiple senses, your brain will store it better and then make it easier to retrieve. Use spaced repetition. Nearly everyone is aware that when you read the same book or watch the same movie more than once, you'll notice things you missed the first time. Then, if you do it a couple more times, you will continue not only to notice new things, but you'll view what you've already seen with a different appreciation for it. It's the same thing when you study. That's why spaced repetition is so important. It takes time and multiple exposures for new ideas and information to sink in. As a matter of fact, there are 6 different levels of how an idea sinks in. While I'm not going to get into too much detail about it now, I will be covering this topic much more thoroughly soon. In my videos, How to Absorb Textbooks Like a Sponge, Recall What You Study, and Retain What You Read, I show you how you can accelerate your learning process through a unique method of spaced repetition. Quiz yourself. In a number of my videos, I've talked about the value of rewriting your notes onto index cards and then turning them into flashcards for yourself. You might put the question on one side and the answer on the other. You can also just put the title at the top and the content right below it. This technique works for all sorts of things you want to learn. For example, before my daughter started university, I wanted her to learn a skill she could use anywhere in the world she might like to travel. So I paid for her to attend bartending school. As she'd learn the recipes for various mixed drinks, she'd put them on index cards and then categorize them by type in a file card box. I'd quiz her by giving her the name of the cocktail, and she'd have to tell me the formula. Personally, I've used this technique to learn music. For a good number of years, I've been a working keyboard player for a variety of different acts. I'd often have to learn 30 or 40 songs in order to perform a show where I had to play 3 or 4 sets. On the cards, I'd have the song title with all the chords for the verses, chorus, bridges, and so on written down. I'd also have the various numerical settings and codes I needed to use for my different instruments and effects. Many times, I'd have my wife quiz me. It was important to know each song in random order because some band leaders would change the set list on the spur of the moment, and I didn't want to be fumbling around while the rest of the band was already playing. Using a combination of quizzing myself with spaced repetition meant that I'd be able to know the song structure and all my settings cold so I could concentrate on my performance. Apply what you learn as often as possible. Learn by doing. Playing music is a perfect example of this idea. Often I would watch YouTube videos of another keyboard player performing a solo that I had to learn. Simply looking at what they did was not enough. In attempting to learn how to play it, I would also attempt to duplicate the fingering as closely as possible. It's the practical application of what I was watching is where the real learning took place. The same is true of just about anything else. If you want to be good at math, then solve a lot of math problems. If you want to be good at writing, or carpentry, or puzzle solving, or anything else, then don't just read about it or listen to lectures on it. Apply what you're learning in the real world as often as possible. So, there are your 10 best ways to learn everything and anything faster and better, and remember it. At the beginning, I promised you a bonus that will supercharge your results. Here it is. Teach others. There's an old saying, the best way to learn is to teach. Another one I'm fond of is, when you teach it, you learn it twice. Teaching others forces you to have a good grasp of the information to begin with. You might also be asked questions that will challenge what you think you know. Often, it will force you to confront your present level of understanding and then propel you to doing more research or study to gain even deeper levels of comprehension. Please post your comments as I do my best to read them all and often reply. Also, I always appreciate you helping spread the good word about what we're doing here on my channel on your social media. As always, this is your favorite Uncle Matt reminding you that everything I teach takes a bit of work and effort, and it's worth it. Always remember that the fastest way to get to the top is to get off your bottom.